So to start, my name is Megan. I'm one of the customer success managers here with Easygenerator. Thanks so much for all of you for joining. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where it is in the world you're joining us from. Like I mentioned, I'm one of the customer success managers here with Easygenerator, and we have our CEO, Kasper Spiro, also on the line who will be presenting. Kasper, not sure if you want to also give an introduction yourself or if you want to just go ahead and get started, up to you.
Thank you. By the way, I shared my screen. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And can you press the record button to record?
I did already.
Okay,
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, and maybe also, sorry about that, Kasper. To make it a little bit easier, just in terms of housekeeping, I did mute everyone. But if you have a question, feel free to either unmute yourself, or there's also a chat function within Zoom. So feel free to do that. I'll be monitoring that as well.
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, see, we have a lot of people participating today, so happy to see that. So I'm Kasper Spiro. I'm the CEO of Easygenerator, and today I want to go over a new webinar we created about blended learning. So basically, it's how can you use the facilities that Easygenerator offers you to create blended learning approaches, but also a couple of generic things that are not directly related to Easygenerator. So I will dive in immediately. And so the first thing, of course, is what is blended learning? So the blended is, the word is for the mix of things. So there are a lot of words there, but basically the key thing is it's a mix between online learning and face-to-face learning. That is what happens most. And there are a whole bunch of other things that you can use around that. So you can use, for example, if you want Twitter, you can create a hashtag for your course so people can follow a course and do stuff while you're offline and things like that. But the key thing is it's a mix of all kind of learning activities where face-to-face and online are the main important ones. It has a couple of benefits. So it can save time. Because face-to-face learning by itself does add value, but it is also time-consuming and expensive because you have to get everybody in one place. So the benefits for blended learning is it saves time, it's cheaper, it's more flexible, it has a greater return on investment. I will come back to that later on. You can create more learning engagements. It is effective, and it can be really creative and motivating if you do it in the right way. And if you look at it in a bit more detail, then there are basically three moments in the learning process if you are giving a course or a number of sessions where you can use blended learning. So it's when you are, when learners are preparing for a face-to-face session. It is to repeat things after a face-to-face session or after a course that they have taken to beat the forgetting curve. We'll dive into that in a bit more detail as well. And it's to practice things. So you have to learn to apply the knowledge. So I will go over these three elements. And so as you see, I created an Easygenerator course because I also want to show you a couple of examples at the same time. But the first thing, of course, is goals, actionable goals. Hopefully you are aware that we do have in Easygenerator the ability to put a learning objective on the level of a section. Creating learning objectives can be quite challenging, and that's why we also build in a tool. So I will not go into the details. We showed that in previous webinars. The thing that I want to focus on for today, by the way, if you don't have the tool, we have help to see the tool, dive in. It has help pages and everything to explain how it works. The key thing is that it revolves around Bloom's taxonomy, and Bloom's taxonomy has 6 levels of learning. The simplest one is remembering, and the most complex form of learning is if you are asking people to create things. And on the screenshot that you see right now, the level of applying is highlighted, and you see the verbs for that level. And that has a reason, because if you are creating learning and learning objectives for corporate learning, then you need to reach at least reach that level. So just remembering or just understanding things do not add value to your business. People need to be able to do something different. They need to learn new behavior. You need to be able to apply something. Otherwise, there's no value in your learning. So if you have a couple of learning objectives, not all of them have to be at that level, but at least one of them should be. So make actionable goals. The other thing that you can, with the preparation is that you want to make sure that your content is engaging. So you want to make sure that people sort of are drawn into your learning. And in this case, by the way, with preparation, you will use e-learning to prepare for a face-to-face session. So you put basically all the information in the course, and they need to do that at home before the face-to-face session. So in order to make sure that they do it, you need to make it attractive. There are a lot of tips and tricks there, and I will show you a couple. So you can use text or text and image blocks, and you have to vary them. So in Easygenerator, you have the drag and drop editor. You hopefully know that. Use images, audio, and video. So not text only. Make sure you mix and match it. Use voiceovers. I will dive into that in a bit because they can be really powerful. Place people in practical situations. So create a question or scenario or situation where they need to think on how they would apply the knowledge in that situation. Again, referring back to the actionable goals that I just mentioned. Keep it short, of course. Make sure your course is no longer than, let's say, 15 minutes, max 3 sections. It depends, of course, on the context and the motivation of the learner and how and where they learn. But in general, for e-learning goes, shorter is better. So 15 minutes and max 3 sections is a good rule of thumb. And use the interactivity that we have in Easygenerator, for example, the hotspot image and the hotspot question, but also the voiceover. So I want to show you how that works. So here you see, by the way, a hotspot image. I will just quickly open the preview of Easygenerator. So if you have really complex information, an image is, of course, a brilliant way of presenting that. So, and this is an image that I'm currently working on, by the way. It shows the trend in e-learning that I think, and it also shows new forms of support information that people need. But there are a lot of elements here, and it's not even a complete picture because you see 2 of the quadrants are empty. So if you tell this in a story, there are like the orange bar here, which is like, those are the 5 moments of learning need. The blue ones, those are the learning interventions that you can do. There's a lot to tell here. And if you do this in text, it will take you endlessly. So in Easygenerator, you can put a hotspot over a question. So what happens, you can create a pop-up that will show additional information the moment people hover over it. Creating that is really simple. So how it works, for example, if I want to here create one for change, I just drag and drop it in Easygenerator. Change is, and you just type in your text, and that's it. And now this will show up as that icon in the course. So that way you can create a huge amount of information, but have it really presentable and make a very clean overview of that. So you see here is my change hotspot. So if you have really complex information, using the hotspot editor is a really, really, really good way to go. We have something which is connected to that in Easygenerator. It's the hotspot question. By the way, I apologize for my voice because I have a bad cold, so I hope you can hear me properly. I'm a bit, normally I have a different voice, let me put it like that. So this is the hotspot question in Easygenerator. All the questions and the hotspot questions is no different. Has the same structure. You can avoid the voiceover. You can have a question instruction. I put the question here. And the question here is select the 5 formal training options. So the question is that people need to identify the 5 formal training options. And how it works in Easygenerator, you just have to drag over the areas that would give you a correct answer. Just like that. You can also switch between single and multiple response. So single response, then one click is okay. Multiple response, they need to find them all. And there's, of course, feedback. It's really crucial that you provide that feedback. So I just put that in. So the moment that people make a mistake, make sure that you put in the feedback so they will see that and learn from it. So if you look at this from a learner's perspective, you will see that they will just see the question with, there it is, the question with the image. So select the 5 forms. So I just click the 5 elements. And if I submit that, it will tell me that's correct. If I would have clicked only 4 of not in that area, thank you. So basically the combination of the hotspot editor, where you can create all kinds of hotspots, but also the hotspot question is really powerful. So those are things, and what we see is that they are not being used that much. So that's why I sort of want to promote them in the call. They are in the tool, they are available, so use them. There's a bit more what you can do. And again, I have the same image, so it's voiceovers. So again, this graph is really complex. So if you have to put it in text, it can be really hard. So what I did, in Easygenerator, you have a voiceover element. By the way, sorry, I see I'm now in the course, so let me go to the editor, and then I can show you how it works. So it's just a separate element, and it's really simple. So if you go to media, all you have to do is you can select video, but also we have audio, and just put it in there. You can upload something from your PC. What I do is I just record things either with my PC or with my phone, and then choose it from your PC, and it's the same as an image. Once the first time you upload it from your PC, the second time it will be in a library. So if I go to the library, I will have the image, sorry, that's the image. I need to select the file, and you can start. So I have to change the audio over here. Sorry, I just selected the image of the file. So I will just do that. Upload it, and now it's also placed. So in this case, I click it, but I don't think that it will play for you. But if I play it, it will play now for me. It's just a small recording where I explain in words the image. So I explain the trends, I explain the 5 moments of learning need, and I explain the learning interventions that are visible. What you can also do, which is really powerful, is use this as sort of an extra thing as a coach. So for example, if you put in an image of yourself there, and you give extra information, then you are sort of present on the page as a coach. And I've learned that people will use that a lot, especially if it's you who is presenting that. So that can be really interesting to sort of do something extra there, to add information, not only to sort of use it for complex things, but to sort of give it a different dimension by speaking a part of it. You can use a video, of course, to do the same, but probably audio is a bit easier to make it happen. And a thing that is really related to that, it's also to show more information that is not visible directly. Again, the same image. So if I want to explain the whole thing about the 5 moments of learning, so I don't know if you don't know them, by the way, but I'm a big fan of it. Basically, there are the 5 moments where people are triggered to learn. That's when they have to apply something, when something has changed, when they have to solve something, when something is new, or something, there's something extra, there is more information. And those 5 moments of learning need are really key to design your learning, because they will decide what kind of learning intervention you need. So there's a lot to tell there. But maybe not everybody wants to know that. Maybe just a story for this image is sufficient. So if you use a show more block in Easygenerator, I can again show you how it works. It is here in the interactive section, so you just drag and drop it, and what happens, it sort of creates a sub page. That page works as all the other pages, so you can just drag and drop content there, and it's just exactly the same. So you can use images, media, whatever you want. So the only difference is it will not show at first. People have to click on it. So again, I will open a preview for that. And you will see that at first only the image will show, hopefully. Yeah, took a while, sorry. So here you see the image. And you have like additional information here, but it's not visible right now. So people are not disturbed, they are focused on this, but if they want to know more, they can get more. Basically, it works the same as like the coaching thing or the extra information in the voiceover, but in a different form. And if you use things like this, it is not just like text on a page that you have to read and click next. You vary it, you make it attractive, it's interesting for people, you get their attention, and it will increase the effectiveness of your course. So if you use e-learning in preparation, make sure that you use all the things to well, create actionable goals, but also to create engaging content. Any questions so far, Megan?
Nothing that I see in the chat, but yes, again, feel free to utilize the chat function in Zoom if there are any questions. I can monitor it throughout, or yeah, if it's a good time, we can interrupt Kasper as well, but so far I don't see anything.
Okay, and then I will continue with the second one.
Yep.
And that is about repetition. So the reason why you want to repeat things is this guy here. It's Dr. Carl Ebbinghaus. So he was a scientist who did brain research. And he found that if you learn something new, and it's here in the graph with the blue line, you will forget most of that information. He also found out how that happens. So you have a short-term memory and long-term memory. And a short-term memory will store everything you hear, you know, and see. So all the new information is stored there. The short-term memory only has a limited capacity, so it needs to sort of throw things away to make room for the new things. And to make sure you don't forget the important stuff is being transferred into your long-term memory, which is like a sort of a vault. Once it's there, it's safe and secure, and you can always, if you have the right angle, you can get it back. But the long-term memory, not everything gets access there. So it needs to be a trigger to sort of get it in from the short-term memory in the long-term memory. And if you don't do anything, then 90% of what people hear for the first time, they will be forgotten within hours, by the way. So if you just tell something once, it's not that effective. So the first thing that you, and in the graph which we see here is there are lines here, and those are the repetitions. So you have to build in repetition of that information in order to make sure that they hear it over and over again. So you make sure that that it will be transferred into the long-term memory. If you do that in a proper way, you can sort of reverse that completely. So instead of they remember 10%, they will forget 10% and remember 90%. And if we talk about effectiveness of learning, 9 times more effective is quite an impact. So repetition is all. So the orange line here, that symbolizes the repetition that you do inside a course. So it's not that you have to wait for a while and then repeat something. You can do that directly. So for example, I can show you here. If you have a course at the end of your module, you can create sort of an overview, a recap. So you will just see, make a thank you page, and you go over the sections and just give them a small recap. Then that way you already build in a repetition inside your course. You can even do that for every section if you want. So you have a couple of pages in a section, and the last page of the section just gives a recap. So people read it again. And that recap, by the way, doesn't have to be a text all the time. It can be text with images, it can be video, it can be audio, what I just showed you. You can also use a quiz for that. So you can put in a couple of questions, so people have to think it through, and they need to find out if it's correct or incorrect. And if it's incorrect, you give them feedback, so they will see it again. So in a course, with questions, with recaps, by the end of the section and at the end of the course, you can maybe repeat something maybe 3 or 4 times over. And with that, already increasing the chance for better retention enormously. But there's more. That's not sufficient. So here you see the image again. So this is the forgetting curve, the blue line. Then you see the first repetition, the building repetition, but there's more. You need to spread it out over time. We call that spaced learning. And there's another thing which is really important if you want to create effective learning, and it goes for blended learning the same. Keep it short. Make sure that it's not that too long. And we call that in the learning world, we call that bite-sized learning, or learning snacks, or learning nuggets. They all refer to the fact that you don't want to create a 5-hour course. It needs to be shorter. There's not like one perfect size. Again, it is really different for different kind of environments. So different, if you, for example, have to learn something, you are less motivated, or if you have to learn something at home, probably have more time than when you do it on a job, or maybe just the other way around. So context is really important. But the general rule of thumb that we use is don't make a course longer than 50 minutes from start to finish to complete, including questions, everything. And keep it short. And if you if your learning is bigger than that, cut it up to small pieces and make playlists. So this is, of course, not a learning, but it's a good example of a playlist. Just cut it up into pieces and make sure that people can take them one by one. And there are facilities in Easygenerator to do that, but probably if you use a learning management system or a learning experience system, you can use those nuggets to just put in, and you can create a learning path with maybe 5 learning nuggets. And you'll see it's much more effective than have 5 of those small courses than one big one. And there's something special here, so I created this image. I will explain. So it looks like, a bit like Morse code, but it isn't. So let's say you have one face-to-face meeting and you have 3 learning modules online. So the first one will be for the preparation. So you have the black ones are the information, the new information that you present to the learners. The red one is the repetition built inside that course. So you have 3 sections. And basically the third one is repetition, a recap of the first 2. So they do that before the classroom session. In the classroom session, you sort of begin with a recap of what they learned. Make sure that everybody is on the same place, that they know that. You add new information and you make a recap at the end as well in the face-to-face session. And then you present them after a couple of days or after a week with a module where you recap the information of the introduction and the face-to-face session. You add new information and you repeat the whole thing at the end. And then you do it again for module 3. That way you cut it up into small pieces. You can mix and match online learning with face-to-face learning. In this case, I only have 1 face-to-face meeting, but of course it can be more. And you can really build flexible learning in small learning nuggets and keep it small. And we have, by the way, so as you see, if you look at, for example, the yellow ones here, so the recap at the end of the face-to-face is sort of the same as the introduction here, or in the module here, the recap at the end of module 2 is the same as the intro of module 3. And we have an ability in Easygenerator to reuse those sections. So not sure if you thought, but most people click on new section, but we also have existing sections. I will briefly show you how that works. So here's that new section, existing sections. So as you can see in my course, I have 3 sections. But if I have, let's say, a recap from another course, I can click on existing sections and it will show me all the sections that I have available that I created. And just by dragging and dropping, I can put that in. So why didn't that show up? It was there and it's not now. Sorry for that, let me retry. Okay, that worked. So it's in. So if I click on done, you will see that my course now has not 3, but 4 sections. So imagine this is like the reuse section, and or if it's the one, it will mark it as reuse. You can click on it, you see where it's being reused. And what is really important, so the moment that I make a change here, that change is applied in all courses where that section has been used. So it's just one thing. It's not a copy, you reuse it. So it's the same thing in 2 different places at the same time. It's a really powerful feature and it will help you a lot. But it is also something you have to think on how to use that, because you need to make sure that if you make a change, that change is applicable for all the places where you use the course. So make sure that you take that into account. So that gives us the repetition. So in order to beat the forgetting curve of Mr. Ebbinghaus, use recaps. For sections, use recaps at the end of the course. It can be text, it can be audio, it can be video, it can be a quiz or a combination of the above. If you want to beat it, make sure that you repeat things over time, create playlists, and make sure that everything you do, every module, has the build-in repetition of the recap of the last one, and that you can do that easily with the reuse information of Easygenerator. I have two extra things that I want to show you briefly. So one is the download. So it's also something that you can help to add spaced learning. So for example, if you have a presentation or a Word or a PowerPoint or a PDF, you can embed those things in Easygenerator. So here's the example how I embedded a PowerPoint. It works extremely simple. So if you go here, we have a section docs. You just drag and drop docs in there. And it works the same as always. So here's a PDF, but I can upload something from my PC. I can choose something from my library, either PDFs, PowerPoints, Word documents, Excel sheets, whatever. So let me choose this PDF. I don't know, by the way, what it is. Okay, it's again the 5 moments of learning lead. So that is something. And you see, it also will tell you how big the download is. What it will do, it will give your learner the ability to download that. So you can create a recap in a PDF or a PowerPoint, for example, that they can download at the end of the course. So the experience is that people will not go back into a learning management system, or they will not go back into a learning experience system to retake a course very often. But if they can download, and you see how it works. So here's the PowerPoint that I already had in, and it actually works. And here's the PDF that I added. I can download that just by clicking on this link. I will get the full document and I can save it on my desktop for future reference. And that is really powerful, because then you can give an overview. And for example, an infographic like this one is then really powerful with the highlights of what you learned. So it's again a recap, but also another thing that you can use for the learner to repeat things and when and if they want. And the last thing is has to do with if you create a couple of courses and you don't have a learning management system, or you do not have a learning experience system, but you still want to string courses together. In Easygenerator, we have the course afterward, and you can use that to create that information. I will show you. So here are the sections that we have. By the way, I will delete the section. And by the way, you see, only if I click this box, it will be deleted from all courses. This is the reuse section. I deleted only from the current course, so it's gone again. But the structure of Easygenerator is that the first thing is you have the introduction, which is here. Then you have your sections, which is here. And then you have your course afterwards, which is here. If you click on that, you can create two afterwards. One for when people mastered your course, so if they succeeded, and the other one is when they are below the mastery course, so if they failed. And what you can do, especially if you succeed, it works again like always. So if I go, to text, I just put in a link. I can put in a link here of any Easygenerator course and explain to them. So if you succeeded and you want to take the next step, just click on the link and follow this course. And you can do that anytime you want to save that link for later, for future reference. So that is something. And the link, not sure if you know that, but if you go to Easygenerator, we have a publish section, and the link is there. So with share private link, that's the link. If you put that into the link element, people will get that course in a new window. It will just look like this, and you can continue working on that. So to recap the repetition part, sorry, I will go do it over here. We have, in order to be mechanical, I already repeated that. So download feature, you put in PDFs, images, infographics, PowerPoint, whatever people can use for summary that they can download, put on their desktop, on their own computer for future reference, and use the course afterwards if you want to string small courses together. All of them are for repetition. So checking in with you, Megan, do we have any questions?
Yeah, I would say one might be relevant to the group. Someone was asking if it's advisable to make learners retake a full course in order to forget or beat the forgetting curve. What would your advice be there?
The answer would be no, because it's really boring to do the same thing again. So it is really important to repeat, but make sure that you do that in different shapes and forms. So switch the modalities you use. So for example, I now had a classroom session and 3 courses, but I can create a quiz, for example, or maybe I can create a video where I go over the information again in a short video and present that. So it's important to repeat, but it's also important that in order to transfer it from short-term to long-term memory, people need to process it. If they do exactly the same, they will just glance over it and they will not really actively think about it. And then there's no transfer. So you need to make them work. So questions, assignments, videos, new forms are all important for that. Okay. Any other questions you want me to address?
Yes, I do. May I put a question, please?
I hear somebody asking a question, but really softly.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you speak up or maybe chat your question?
Okay.
Yeah, I can monitor the chat maybe, Kasper, and then yeah, we can. I'll make sure that we address it if you want to move on to the next section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I go to the last section of my course, and that is practice. And the first thing is, I already touched on that a bit, but not in great detail, is a method which is called flipping the classroom. And it has to do, it's been invented by a teacher, and that's why it refers to classroom, but it also, you can also do the flipped face-to-face training. So in the old days, when you would teach, and I am a teacher myself originally, you would give all the information, present all the new information in the class. So maybe they had to do some preparation and read something, but basically what you would do, most information would be transferred frontal from the learner to the from the teacher to the learner in the classroom. And then the students will get homework and they have to do it at home. And the point is they then have to process the information and they will find out I can't do it sometimes. So because they haven't understood it or there's not enough information and you are not there to help them out. That means they get stuck and that is not motivating. So what the flipped classroom does is that you put in all the information in a different form, in an online form. It can be a video, an e-learning course, or whatever. So basically the transfer of information is done online before the classroom session. So people do it at home. The advantage there is that somebody maybe needs to read it once or hear it once and then they're fine, they know it. Maybe somebody else wants to do it 3 times in order to really understand it or play it back or whatever or read it back. So everybody can do it in its own time and its own pace. So the moment that they come into the class, the level of knowledge will be similar for everybody. Then you give them assignments in the class. So they have to work in applying that knowledge. And if they get stuck, you are there with your extra knowledge and give them extra information to make sure that they understand. And what you will see is it's much more effective. And then afterwards, you can do an assessment and then sort of repeat that information again online and make sure that you check if they still know that and if they're also able to reproduce all that knowledge and apply that knowledge without your active help. So again, homework, but homework was a really different preparation because they learned it first, you applied it together, and then you can do it here. It's, by the way, also much more interesting as a teacher to teach that way because it will be much more flexible. It's not that you will present the same information over and over again. Different questions will arise, different situations will come up, and you can use and play with that. So I myself like that a lot, also as a teacher or a trainer, to do it like that. It's really powerful. So something that is also basically part of reuse, and that it connects to the question we just had. So should it be the same form? And I said, no, you should switch. So this course is maybe a bad example because it only has one question in it, I think. So let me switch briefly to another course. So I have here another course which is on leadership development. And this course contains a lot of topics, but it also contains all the questions. So you can, the content is, you see the small mountain here, and all the other things are question types. And we have a trick in Easygenerator to really quickly create an assessment out of a course. And it works like this. I go back to the course list. So if you have a course, so you create a course with a mix of a combination of content and questions. in the course list, you have 3 buttons: delete, duplicate, and publish. You go for duplicate. And what you now get is a copy of your leadership course. It's exactly the same as the previous one, same content. I remove the word copy with leadership assessment, and I click on the button next to that. I have a lot of templates here. You only will see 2. You have by default the all-in-one, which is the course template, but we also have an assessment template, and that sort of works wonders for your course. What happens is that if I now go to publish and I publish this, so it has a separate link. That's why I copied it, because you have now a course link to share and an assessment link to share. If I open that, you will see without any extra effort of from my side, it will present an assessment. So here's the introduction, and all the questions, and only the questions, will be presented in one long list. So now I have, in just like 1 minute, created an assessment out of my course without creating any extra content. So just go very shortly over the steps that I took. So step 1 is take your course, go to the course list and duplicate it. Once you duplicate it, rename it to whatever it is, assessment, and switch what we call, it's the template, but basically it's a learning style from all-in-one to assessment. Then go to publish, get a link, and share this link with your learner. And now you have a link for the assessment and a link for the course. So that way you have to very simple to repeat something after a week. They have to redo all the questions from the assessment once more in a different form. So very simple, but really effective. So I have to go back to, sorry, not my leadership. I have to go back to the course that we work on for the blended learning webinar. So we were on the practice elements. So that was the second one. Then we have quiz versus exam. That is also an interesting one. If you create a course in Easygenerator or a question, let me do that. Sorry, so I will just drag and drop a single choice question here. Quiz or exam. So by default, you will see you have your information. So I can put in extra introduction content if I want. I can put in my answer options, A, B, and I add one, so we call that C. I can, of course, put in my response when I have correct and incorrect, but there's an extra block here. And this block makes it interesting. This is the block basically that will allow you to give hints to people or explanation to people. So it is just a normal text block. You can put in any information there, text, images, video, whatever you want, audio, documents, everything works. But if your course is an assessment, then something special happens. So, oh, of course I did it now in the wrong one, so that's not smart. So what happens, I will then quickly use this one as an assessment as well and preview it. So it will filter out all the questions, but if you edit content, which I just did, quiz or exam, the content, it will show as a hint. And basically now, because people can, if they don't know the answer, they can read the information from you. Instead of being an exam, it now turns into a learning opportunity. They can use that to learn. So that's another way that you can use an assessment by putting in the content next to the questions or into the questions. If they don't know the answer, they will be triggered to read the information, process the information, answer the question correct, and go to the next one. So that is how it works. There is a setting in Easygenerator, and it's only available if you have the assessment. You can switch between quiz and exam. So if I choose exam, the hints will be hidden. If you choose quiz, the hints will be visible. So a really powerful feature, and you can use it also quite easily. So I will switch back to the all-in-one template. Okay, then the last thing for today is, do we have any questions? Megan, anything?
Yes, I think that I was able to answer everything in the chat. There is one that we'll take offline with you. But yeah, I will just wait and see if there's anything else that comes through.
After? Shall I put the question after?
Okay, well, then in that case, oh wait, can you change your template after you have prepared the course? Yes, you can change the template anytime. But remember that if you create something, a course or an assessment, it has a specific publication link. So if you don't copy it, you will get one link and you lose your course and you have an assessment instead. So make sure you first copy it, you duplicate it before you switch to templates. Okay, and well, it was the first time we did this new webinar. The planning was 45 minutes. I see we are on 42 minutes, so I think I did pretty well. So thanks everybody for attending. And if you have any questions, let us know. We'll share probably the extra information with you after the call. Megan, I assume we share the recording and stuff like that?
Yes, definitely. We will send over a survey of the course as well as any suggestion if you have for a future course topic, or excuse me, session topic, but we will share the recording as well to our blog. So if there's anything in the meantime that you have questions on, feel free to reach out to us. I think you all have my email from the invitation, and then as well, I know we have a follow-up as well, so I will reach out to you as well.
Okay. One thing I want to also point out to you as a very last thing is this green button in the Easygenerator is really powerful. It will give you access to support. So we have a really great knowledge base, but what is even better is we have a really great support team. So we, and by the way, we are extending the hours in a couple of months that we do the support. So, and the great thing about our support team is they can do more than just answer questions on Easygenerator. So it's not only how can I do something in Easygenerator, you can also ask questions that are more didactical or nature. So how do I create like a blended setup? Can you review my course? Stuff like that. They're incredible. So use them. It's one of the unique features of Easygenerator that we have that great support team. Okay,
Definitely.
So with that, thank you for your time and enjoy your day.
Thanks, Kasper.
Bye, Megan.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.